Just hit a button, Morty. Give me a beat.
Oh man, okay, alright,
Manchester City 2, Real Madrid 1, Manchester City win 4-2 on aggregate, a tactical analysis of how Guardiola exposed Zidane's side. After the video, go over to jerseyfifa.com and check out all the new football jerseys for the new season at a great price. The new Manchester United kit costs just $25. They also have retro jerseys as well, so go and use the link in the description and check out all of those, and use the coupon code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So going into the game, Guardiola lined up his side in a 4-3-3 shape with Ederson in goal, Walker at right back, Cancelo at left back with Fernandinho and Laporte playing as a centre back pairing, Rodri as the deepest midfielder in the single pivot with De Bruyne and Gundogan ahead of him. Sterling started on the right of the front three, Gabriel Jesus on the left, and Phil Foden played centrally as a false 9. Zidane used a 4-5-1 shape with Courtois in goal, Militao and Varane as centre backs, Carvajal at right back, Mendy at left back, Casemiro playing in the central midfield position with Modric and Kroos either side of him. Rodrigo started on the right of the midfield, Hazard on the left, and Benzema started up front. But before I get into the analysis, remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you get notified when my videos come out, and check out some of my other videos linked in the description below. From the start of the game, Guardiola's side used a 2-3-3-2 shape in possession with Walker and Cancelo pushing up in line with Rodri, whilst Gundogan and De Bruyne were positioned ahead of this line with Sterling and Gabriel Jesus holding the width in the system, with Foden starting high but dropping deep into the midfield to receive the ball. Real Madrid didn't press extremely aggressively, they preferred to deploy a more zonal pressing shape. This meant that when the ball went back to the City centre backs or goalkeeper in the defensive third, Modric or Kroos would push up from the midfield line to create a pressing front three alongside Benzema, with Benzema usually pressing one of the centre backs, Modric the other, and Kroos picking up Rodri, who dropped into a regista position. Behind them, Casemiro sat centrally, whilst Rodrigo and Hazard refrained from moving to press the fullbacks and instead were positioned rather narrow, meaning that Real Madrid were essentially pressing in a wide 4-3-3 shape. When City were able to play up their defensive third, Madrid would drop back into a flat 4-5-1 shape, but when the ball was shifted to any of the City deep line central players, we would see either Kroos or Modric push out from that midfield line to apply the pressure, creating essentially a 4-4-2 defensive shape at times. In possession, Zidane's side moved from a 4-5-1 to a 2-3-4-1 shape, with Mendy pushing a lot further forward down the left than Carvajal did on the right, as the Spaniard sat in line with the two deepest midfielders. The midfield three would alternate positions, if Modric and Kroos dropped deep in the possession phase, Casemiro would push higher up the pitch, with Mendy advancing down the left. This also allowed Hazard to drift infield into central positions. Rodrigo on the right did stay a lot wider than Hazard, but when Carvajal did push forward, we also saw Rodrigo move inside into these half spaces as well. Guardiola's side looked to press Zidane's possession shape in a 4-3-3 as well. Foden sat deep looking to cut off the passing lane into Real Madrid's deep line midfielders, as Jesus and Sterling pushed up to pressurise the Madrid centre-backs. De Bruyne and Gundogan behind them would follow Kroos and Modric if they looked to move into deep positions to receive the ball. If Real beat City's press, they would drop back into a flat 4-5-1, with Jesus seeming a lot more dedicated to tracking the runs of the opposition's right back, in this case Carvajal, than we often see from City's wide attackers. The effectiveness of City's press was seen almost immediately with City's opening goal. Here we see that as Courtois plays the ball to Varane in a deep wide position, he comes under pressure immediately from Gabriel Jesus. What Jesus does well here is that he positions himself so that he blocks off the pass into Carvajal up the line and forces Varane to turn inside. When this happens, Varane is looking for a pass in field, but Foden's positioning to cut off the passing lane into Casemiro and Sterling's narrow positioning, stopping the ball back to Courtois, means that Varane has no options, and instead of just clearing the ball, he dwells on it for too long, gets his pocket picked by Jesus, who slides the ball across for Sterling to slot the ball into the empty net. Throughout the first half, Foden was dropping incredibly deep, and it was obvious why Guardiola had chosen to use this type of false 9 forward for this game, with Real Madrid using Kroos and Modric to push up to join the pressing front three rather than the two wide players as City did. There was always going to be gaps appearing between Casemiro and the wide midfielders. By having Gundogan and Rodri play as a deep double pivot at times, this would attract Real Madrid's midfield up the pitch and potentially leave space in these sorts of pockets for Foden to drop into and receive the ball. With Jesus and Sterling retaining high and wide positions, this pinned Real Madrid's fullbacks back and stopped them being able to push up the pitch to apply the pressure to the City fullbacks. In terms of City's fullbacks positioning during the possession phase, this was classic Guardiola. Cancelo held his width on the left whilst Walker moved infield playing as an inverted fullback. This would give City the numerical advantage in the centre of the pitch, with it being 4 or sometimes 5 against 3, forcing the Real Madrid midfield to drop deep as they didn't want to push up too high and leave space in behind. However, Real Madrid were able to get back in the game with a vintage Benzema goal, showcasing his best attributes as a striker. We see him first dropping deep outside of the box to link up with Rodrigo, which allows Real Madrid to progress the ball into the box. Rodrigo does excellently to glide past Cancelo, while Benzema is making a late run into the box on the blind side of Laporte, meaning that Benzema is free when Rodrigo's cross loops into the box, allowing Benzema to attack it, head the ball into the ground and pass the keeper. Despite getting the equaliser, Real Madrid were struggling to break through City's 4-5-1 system, whilst Hazard was dropping into these sorts of half spaces, and he did create a good opportunity for Benzema from this position. I think Real Madrid underused this area of the field. I would have liked to see Zidane's side constantly looking to switch the ball quickly from the right flank into Casemiro or Kroos over to the left flank, which would have stretched City's 5-man midfield, creating spaces for Hazard to receive the ball in. And if Real Madrid had got the ball into these positions more often, I think we could have seen Mendy getting in behind Walker with his overlapping runs a lot more than he was able to do. In the second half, Guardiola changed up his side, moving Sterling over to the left of the attack, Foden onto the right, and moving Jesus into that central false 9 spot. I think Guardiola did this as he realised that the opportunity to progress the ball forward was coming through the centre of the pitch, either side of Casemiro. Jesus is a lot better than Foden is at dropping deep, receiving the ball and being able to link the attack. Also, with Sterling now on the left, City had the ability to play balls inside of Carragher, in behind the Madrid backline for Sterling to make runs onto, which led to City creating good opportunities at the start of the second half. We also saw City pressing more in a 4-4-2 shape than in the 4-3-3 shape they'd used in the first half. This came about with either Gundogan or Sterling pushing up to join Jesus in the pressing front line. City did take the lead after another Rafael Varane error on the ball. One long ball up the field from Rodri seemed easy enough for Varane to deal with. However, for whatever reason, he seemed to want to keep possession, so tried to head the ball back from an awkward position. Jesus anticipated this and latched onto the header back, knocking the ball past Courtois into the empty net. Despite this seeming like a lucky break for City, it was surprising that their press hadn't led to a goal before this. City seemed to invite passes into the Real central midfielders before they would look to press aggressively, and Casemiro was the main source of Real Madrid's errors. He was unable to receive the ball under pressure with his back to goal and find a pass forward, leading to him giving the ball away in his own defensive third on a number of occasions. City carried on looking to exploit Real Madrid through the centre of the pitch. Zidane's press was disjointed. When Kroos and Modric pushed up the field to pressurise the likes of Rodri or Walker, massive gaps were created in central midfield, with Casemiro not pushing up high as well, as he was preoccupied with closing down De Bruyne's space, who was sitting high up the pitch on the right side. This made it easy for City to bypass Real Madrid's press and move the ball into their defensive third with one pass into a player moving into these sorts of central zones. Real Madrid were only really able to create something when the ball was fed into Benzema and he was able to go an amazing run and get a shot away, but apart from that we didn't really see Real Madrid carve open City's defensive system. So overall, despite both City goals coming from Varane mistakes on the ball, it was Guardiola's aggressive press and use of players in central zones like the use of Walker as the inverted fullback and Foden as a false 9 that allowed City to dominate the game and expose a major weakness in Zidane's defensive system. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to give the video a like and a share, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Check out some of my other videos as well, linked in the description below, and go to jerseyfifa.com if you're looking for football jerseys at a great price.